Happy New Year! This is John Chen with the Engaging Virtual Meetings, and we got an interview here. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT, and that's kind of maybe like AI's real opening into the real world. There's all sorts of controversies. I know people are doing their selfie pictures now with AI, and now there's some controversy about, you're borrowing from artists and not paying them for, the credit for the inspiration for the work. And so AI is definitely going to be, this may be the year of AI. There's certainly a lot of talk about it right now. And I want to let you know that if you're listening to some of these sentences, one of the things that I'm consciously trying to do this year is to get rid of the word. Now it sounds really easy, and I got to tell you, there are definitely times when, if you are not conscious of it, you can drop a lot of them. And now I'm trying to be more conscious about them and see what tools do I have that can help me do that. Now, notice I can run a whole section here, and if I clearly concentrate a little bit, I think I can make this a habit where I will reduce the number of times that I'm saying this word when I don't want to. So let me just share one of those tools with you. Recently, I got a chance to meet these two people. They were recommended by somebody else I knew as a great tool, and found out they're right here in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to find out what the word Yoodli meets. Let's meet Sharan Jhangiani. Here we go. Oh, I love it, Sharon. Sharon, we do all this practice and rehearsal, and then it's game time, and then we got to go. Like, did I actually get his name close to right?
Hey, it was quite close. I will say you're closer than most. So
Oh, well,
kudos on that front.
I appreciate that. Can I ask actually what culture your name comes from?
Yeah, it's Indian. It's from a place that's actually current day Pakistan, but historically a Hindu name in Sindh. Uh, but yes, technically Indian when that whole part was still India as well. Uh, yeah.
Fascinating. I did not know that. So speaking of which, right? First off, let's first maybe describe. Well, first off, let's describe. Why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do, and then we're gonna try and tell people what Udly is. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. First off, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sharan Jhangiani. I am a growth PM at Yoodli. Uh, I live here in the Pacific Northwest, born, raised, went to college, and now enjoy my time here in Seattle.
Thank you so much for that, and I'm glad. What do you love most about Seattle?
Mm. Well, there's a lot. Given it's been home literally forever. I was born in Bellevue, went raised in Issaquah, so that part's huge. I think the best part these days, though, is the snow. My goodness, the snow up in the Pacific Northwest on the mountains. If you're skiing or snowboarding, top notch. I'd say it's almost as good as stuff in Colorado, which is tremendous.
Well, that makes you like a skier or snowboarder.
Big skier. I actually am so bummed because I was on a ski trip and I hurt my knee really bad. So I haven't been able to ski at all this season. But fingers crossed, we're back at it soon. But a big, big skier.
Well, you'll love this recent article that just came over across my desk today. It was Stevens Pass and Snoqualmie Pass both had to apologize for the lack of parking on the last couple weekends because so many people are going up. The return is big. I've been a snowboarder, geez, ever since I got to Seattle. So it's over
Awesome.
25 years of snowboarding. And I don't know if you knew this, sponsored amateur skateboarder before that.
No way. I did not. That's awesome. What I've always been curious. What are the parallels between snowboarding and skateboarding? I mean, they've got to be huge, but is it really that easy to pick up one after another?
Well, I wouldn't say easy, especially for those who have spent a day trying to, snowboard and their butt hurts at the end of the day. But I can tell you this: I mean, they're board sports, so it's definitely they're either right or left foot forward, and the balance piece is really there. The first time that I learned to snowboard, if you've ever watched, really cool YouTube videos of people like downhill skateboarding, and they put plastic pads on their gloves so they can slide and
Mhm,
hold their hand. The
mhm.
first day of snowboarding is exactly like that. And then after that, then later on, you learn how to stop sliding and start carving, and then it's an amazing piece. So I crossed over quick, of course, but I had the basis of skateboarding with there. So I would liken that snowboarding is like first like when you're again learning how to do these big long slides down a hill, but later on it's like slalom, like when you have a skateboard and with these new wheels that really actually grip, like longboarding does it now too. That I think is more akin to like with snowboarding when you learn how to carve. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and you got to try it some days. Some days is I have actually learned how to carve where you can stick your hand out and it's like I'm carving almost 89 degrees to the snow.
Wow. That's cool. That must be a sight to see.
So anyway, so we'll go
A
to
little tangent.
snowboarding. Well, I mean, I have a knee injury too to help out with that. We have something in common. Now, tell us what the word like what is Yoodli and where did the name come from?
It's a great question. I'm not super sure on this name part. We do have to admit it is quite unique, and it's definitely memorable. Udly, in a sentence, is an AI speech coach that helps anyone and everyone speak and communicate better. The goal is to help that person who's super smart but unable to really express their thoughts super well have that ability to learn and improve the way they communicate their ideas so they don't get left behind. Uh, and really just anywhere else in the world where communication is so important as it is in so many aspects of our life, help everyone and anyone grow and gain better skills in that world.
Now, how'd you get involved with Yoodli? I heard I think you were like one of the first top power users and then like joined the fray. Did I get the story right?
Yeah. So, oh man, my story with Udly is quite funny. So I met Varun and Isha, the two founders, before Udly. I think Udly was just an idea at the time, and met as friends. We were just hanging out. They came over for dinner. I threw a poker night. They came for the poker night. They even came and joined me at my parents' house for dinner at some point. And over the last year and a half or so, just the friendship grew super strong, and I started using the platform and the tool a ton at my job. And I was previously an engineer before I jumped into this growth role. And as times progressed and, my previous role, some things changed with the situation and I was looking for something new. And next thing you know, Varun's texting me and asking, hey, are you interested in a role like this? And next thing you know, here we are working together day in and day out. And it's been such a blast, such a blast.
And what's your role at Udly? What happens in a typical quote unquote hashtag typical day?
Yeah, well, days aren't very typical, as you can imagine, for a startup world. It's every day is a different experience. I share a little bit about the last few days. Just thinking about growth. How do we get Udly to as many people as possible? We're confident and we know that the tool and the product helps a lot of people and really makes a material difference in their lives. So my job and my role is how can we increase the number of people who get exposure, who don't know about Udly, can learn about Udly, and also reap the benefits of using such a great tool in their day-to-day lives.
Well, perfect. I'm going to take a peek at this. I just want to share, I've been using it for about a couple weeks here. I've been looking at that. Of course, the goal is as soon as I started doing this, I recognized two things that happens with me. One of them is that I'm an improv speaker. So that means that I don't really read speeches word for word. I really don't teleprompt is not my personal style. And therefore, there are many times where I got to stall. And that's where filler words come in. And filler words really come in, and I need to think about, again, when you up your awareness around something, you suddenly realize how many times you do it. And it's like, if you start shopping for a Porsche or a new refrigerator, and then all of a sudden your reticular activating system in your head just shows you every Porsche or every refrigerator in the world with it. And so, yeah, so I got my awareness going on with this. So let's take a peek at the little tour, and you can help me guide me. I think we were actually looking at some of the cool features here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, this should be able to do it. Okay, great. So here's what Yoodli looks like on a website. And so let's just say how this works. Number one, you can actually go to this link and get a free account. That's actually really cool. So by the way, I wasn't paid for this message, and I'm just sharing this part. And I like the fact that you opened up this trial so that many people can take a look at it and see what their reaction is to it. As a 10-year Microsoftie, in software, you're going to get no better response than by people using it and coming back to you and saying, I love this, don't like that. So this is what it looks
Absolutely.
like. And so the second part then is in a Yoodli. So I have something called John's Yoodli right now inside of this meeting, and that's their AI comes in and says, "Let me log into your meeting and listen to audio or video." And by the way, you can actually remove this or not admit it for any meeting that you don't want Yoodli in. Right? Let's say you're talking about your personal life or something else, then you can leave it out. So at least on the access side, it's there. So I had a little conversation earlier today. And this is automatic happening. This is what's amazing about it, Sharon, is that my meeting happened. Yoodli came in only because I set this up. I don't have to do anything else, and now I have
Yep.
literally a whole library of meetings I can look at. What's
Yeah.
some feedback you've been getting on like the ease of use stuff?
It's incredible. I think the killer use case here is when you connect it to your calendar, and anytime there's a Zoom link on your calendar invite, it's automatically set up to join for you on your behalf. So using it is seamless, and it's there to give you the analysis right after the instant replay, as we like to call.
So like here's the video. So you actually capture a piece of the video, right? And I guess the speaker view, which is amazing on the storage side because I'm already, well, I guess I haven't recorded it to the Zoom cloud in this case. So I got another capture of this. Then the second piece comes in here, and now I have the transcript here. So let me play you a little clip of my meeting with my good friend Tony. Tony, by the way, I hope you don't mind. I did double check this. This is an innocuous meeting. Tony's one of my good MPI Meetings Professional International friends with this. But I'm going to try and play only clips from me. Okay, so here's a spot where I search for the word and I'll play this sentence here. Here we go. So on our side, what we had to do was we were in the third floor. That's where the mixing board is, and the second floor is where the stage is at. And so we worked with the AV guy, and we had a setup where we changed the video screen from blank while the normal people presented, and then all these spotlights. And he dimmed all the lights and then turned on the projector. There we go. So there's a good segment with me on here. So now if it actually gives me here is that I'm looking at the filler words here on the right-hand side. I had 43 fillers during this like 12, 13-minute meeting. And look at this. Finally, is no longer my number one word. I've been working on this, and now it's been replaced by in one of my other meetings, I had like that too. The was replaced with and so apparently is on my top list here. Tell me what you know. What have you learned, Sharon, about filler words from you and other people?
I am a lover of the word like. I'll just throw that out there. I love using that word. And there's an right there. I need to get much better at learning how to reduce my likes. And I also use repetition quite a bit. So trying to understand where I can improve on that has been so instrumental. And the best way to learn that is by being exposed to this information, to this data, to be able to have some understanding of how you're speaking so that as you try and be more conscious, just like you, John, where you said, I'm going to be conscious in my usage of and there we go. We have actual information to see how that's changed. The feedback around this is just incredible from people who are English as second language speakers. It's game changing to give them a lot of great insight into how they can speak just a tad better each time. From people who are practicing interviews and presentations, I had a buddy who was recently laid off and he was looking to practice interviews. And I said, hey, go give this a shot. He's in consulting and there's case competition interview questions that we prompt on the side. There's an interview practice session in that little blue camera button in the top left corner of the bar over there.
Oh, yes.
Super great stuff. And it prompts you questions. And once you're there, it can help you understand how you delivered on those questions and so on and so forth. So we've seen some really incredible things from people using these analytics that automatically get populated anytime you upload and speak any bit of video into this platform.
So here's a case of repetition. When you said repetition, it's us as humans saying the same word twice. So here's an example. And so the other side note too, in the middle of her answering questions to the judges, she lost power. And so the other side note. There you go. So there's some repetition pieces, and now this is like useful for me as I get to know some of these. And then it'll bring it to my awareness. And again, I'm consciously trying to change some of these. I know that I'm failing sometimes, but what I can tell you is now at least I can hear it. I'm hearing those pieces, and then then it gives me a trigger to go back and going, gosh, am I really saying that a lot? And now, what can I replace that with? So here's a playback without the fillers. We'll go back to the same 125 segment. Let me see if I can find it. Running it with a battery. It's just a little Shark Tanky.
Did she come back on?
Right here.
She
Okay.
won. What a gangster, dude. Oh, gosh, that's amazing.
So on our side, what we had to do was we were in the third floor. That's where the mixing board is, and the second floor is where the stage is at. And so we worked with the AV guy, and we had a setup where we changed the video screen from blank. There we go. So that's actually that last segment. Your AI has the ability now to just auto edit those out and allow me to hear what I should sound like.
Absolutely.
So, and how is it? Is it just, this is all the stuff like you've been programming in this AI, and now it can, once you program it, it can just do it and then just give us back the result. Is that right?
Exactly.
So what I love here too is then you give us a little what went well and what could have gone better. This is, by the way, one of my debrief techniques as a facilitator. It's what we call plus delta. And so I used no non-inclusive language.
Which is incredible.
What's a non-inclusive language? Like, what's the top foul of the year?
That's a great question. I should go ask our analytics folks to see if they have any idea there. I'm not quite sure, but I will definitely get back to you on that.
Okay, so in top keywords, no, like, do. Okay, so these are good things that he can say. Most frequently used words. Okay, so now I can look at what my top keywords are, and I could change them if I want to. Repetition, filler words, and then weak words. So just actually, yes. So now look, I got 24 so's on me. I love this fun fact.
Yeah.
I tied with David Blaine, apparently.
Yeah, that part's really fun. We have some cool celebrities in there that you can see how you speak relative to them. It's quite engaging.
What's the problem with weak words, or what's your, do you have any research on weak words?
I believe there's actually a great explainer. I think that if you hover over the I at the bottom of the little bit to the right, did that do anything there?
It just says words that can indicate a lack of confidence if overused, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's pretty much it. It's basically words that likely aren't as compelling as alternates that you could use.
Okay. So let's peek into some of your other features. This is a listening talk time. So this was said, it was 40%, 46% me, 54% Tony, who was in this call today. So that's great, meaning we're splitting our time relatively evenly. Monologues is where you probably talk too long. Here's a copy of all the questions I asked, which I think you give a benefit for questions as they continue the conversation, correct?
Absolutely. And it's really great if you're performing a mock interview or something, or you're looking to say, hey, I asked that question about that specific thing we were doing at work. Where was it again? You can go and click on one of these questions and it'll take you right there in the transcript in the video.
So you also checked out centering, which is great. So this came back and said I was perfectly centered, which is you want to be here inside of most of the time in the call. You also want to be the right, not so much headroom is one of the fouls we've seen with a lot of Zoom video. So it looks like you have a positioning guide here with that. There's some smiles. So this is your AI is actually detecting and face reading smiles then.
Yep.
Yeah, which is great. I know that we've talked recently too about virtual sapiens, and that your product actually is going to start working on real-time feedback too, so that not only will you be a voice coach, you could be a presence coach as you continue to work on this project.
Absolutely.
This is great too. Eye contact. So this says, oh, I looked away a lot.
I think you can attribute that to your incredibly complex setup.
Yeah, and I've actually known that, which is that I spend a lot of my time looking at this other screen, right? Because I might be doing something, and so most people who know me know this. This is a great one though. Pacing, the amount of words per minute, and it says I'm clocking about 206, which says I'm a little bit on the fast side.
Yeah, and it's really cool. You can hit that playback at 0.75x speed and hear what it sounds to be a little slower, so it's not super off-putting when you try and practice. And one of the best ways to improve is hearing yourself with an improved voice. So that's the power of removing the filler words and hearing yourself speak without those filler words, or in this instance, playing at a slower pace to understand what a good example of you speaking sounds like.
Let me take a look here back to this minute 25. It's fine.
In the middle of her answering questions to the judges, she lost power.
So it's interesting. Sounds a little drunk. I'm not sure. But I get that, what's great about it is that you're adjusting the speed and then readjusting the pitch. So you come back and sound like you would normally. I know that there are times when I'm presenting that I actually purposely speak very, very rapidly. And then later on, in some segment of the program, purposely slow down
Yep.
the effect of the audience. And so, I wonder if there's a way for you to catch that, which is your variety and the overall pacing. So yeah, so if we go here, let's see, this is my library. These are all the calls that have been picked up since I've started using this. I have 29 calls and gives me, filler words, some pacing words. Oh yeah, look here. Like this is better. Like 160 is probably better than a 200. And so things like that inside of here.
Yeah.
So there's lots of pieces. I also thought inside of your library too, if you I think you go to the homepage, this gives you all the features of it. And I love this sample speeches.
Yep.
You've got Elon Musk, you've got Oprah Winfrey, and it's got commentary on what these people are doing great to be great top professional speakers.
Exactly. It's very interesting. We provide all the analytics that you would get on your own Yoodli in those, so you can learn from people and understand, hey, Steve Jobs speaks really well in this way. Maybe I can emulate that particular aspect and also be able to recognize some of the flaws that he may have in his delivery.
What have been some of the biggest success stories with Yoodli, whether it's you or somebody else that has used the product?
Oh man, biggest is weird. I'm not really sure how I should define that, but I think some of the most impactful ones for me have been, I was on the phone yesterday, day before, with someone who used the platform to prepare for an interview. And they don't speak English, it's not their first language, but they've been learning English. And Udly was super helpful in helping them run through those practice interview cycles, understand where they were kind of screwing up a little, where they could improve, what they were doing well, double down on those things and fix the ones that they were improving on, and were able to land the job. And I think hearing those stories and firsthand understanding the value that Udly can provide and how it can help people really cross that bridge, that communication gap, and close it just a little bit further has just been incredibly moving, and keeps us moving forward, as that's the mission, right? Our goal is to really just help anyone and everyone improve their communication skills. So
What's great too is you have a version of this product which allows someone who's a speech coach to have customers or clients who are using Udly, and they can come in and then review some number of speeches and give coach comments like, "This is great. This is a great background. This was a great opening. Oh, you really should,
yep,
place this word. Now I want you to focus on this." So I love the fact that you can now integrate a human coach and really help you focus on what of this data do you want that turns into behavioral change, right?
exactly. And the power of a coach using Udly is that now you're no longer focused on tracking all the ums and uhs and all the filler words, but instead you're focused on helping your client and the people you're working with really focus on those more intangible things, the delivery, the eye contact, the gestures, the usage of the space, and the projection of your voice, and all of that. So it basically unlocks and it empowers our coaches to do a lot more with their clients.
So, in the last, of course, a couple of years, we've had lots and lots and lots of virtual meetings. So I'm curious for you personally, Sharon, is what has to happen in a virtual meeting for you, for it to be engaging for you?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot come to mind, but the most important thing for me was having a clear agenda and sticking to it. I know in previous meetings that I've been on, they've gone on forever and ever because the agenda just got blown out of the water. And I think when it comes to virtual meetings, there are times where it's a little difficult, especially if, say, like half the group has their cameras off. Uh, it's disheartening and it's difficult to really connect with people. So sticking to that agenda, engaging, making sure that people aren't bored or people are only there if it's relevant. Because if you see one person kind of camera off or not really paying attention, it's a little demoralizing in a way. But
Well,
personally, that's the big thing for me.
you enjoy this. I asked what makes a virtual meeting engaging to a chat GBT, and Point number 6 was structured agenda.
Yes.
All
I'm
of us.
glad I'm on the same page as our lovely AI from OpenAI.
Who has been the best presentation or keynote in the last 2 years on virtual? I know for again, you've got a chance to see a lot of
Ooh.
speeches. You put out Oprah in here, but I'm just curious if like one is there somebody that you saw that really left an impression with you?
Oh, that's a great question.
Take a moment, think
Digital.
about it. There's a lot of I know you've probably seen a lot of speakers. I've seen a lot of speakers over the last 2 years.
Yeah. Ooh. My mind immediately jumped to I was lucky enough to be able to join Marcus East, who I believe is an executive at T-Mobile. I'm trying to
Oh yeah.
remember exactly what his role was, but he was incredibly compelling virtually. I had a I was very engaged the entire time. Um, and he really captured the audience's attention really, really well from the start of the meeting. It was like an hour and a half long presentation about the economic headwinds and the macroeconomic climate, which to some may not be super interesting, but I found it fascinating. Uh, I think that was one of my favorite virtual conversations or virtual meetings that I was part of. He really did a tremendous job capturing the audience's attention.
In that capturing, was it part like speech and presence? Was it part data? What were some of the top things that really grabbed you and kept you?
It was mostly presence, the way he delivered and the way he spoke. And I think now that I'm part of Yoodli and spend my days thinking about this, if I'm looking back, his delivery was so tremendous. The way he alternated the length of his words or the length of his sentences, changed the tone, the pace of his voice, it all just culminated into be a very compelling and engaging speech.
Wow. Well, super fascinating. I'm going to go look it up. And too, I always love to take some of these references here and see what I missed, right? If it's online somewhere. You're in AI. You probably joined with this too. You're probably looking at the future. What do you think what is going to happen with AI this year? And then what do you think is going to happen with virtual meetings in the future? I'm curious from your own personal viewpoint.
Ooh, what is going to happen with AI this year? I think everyone can agree that last year was a bit of a step change in the power of GPT-3, of GPT 3.5 that is below ChatGPT. I think the interesting use cases in this year are actually probably not going to come from another major technological step change. My opinion is that there's going to be a UX change, and the way that users interact with AI is going to really have some crazy innovation. And I think that's where the next big things within AI come from. The power of the model is there, in my opinion, and the power to create really compelling experiences is there. It's just the question of applying that little bit of design thinking, that user understanding to really crack that. How do we let users interact with AI in the correct way so that they can really, really explode and take advantage of all the use cases that we can plausibly use AI to augment our life and make our lives better and more compelling?
Yeah, now I'm like brainstorming. So I wondered, like, now could AI help me as an improver? So what if I had a teleprompter where the teleprompter is running some version of AI, and now it's listening to the content of our conversation and can actually pre-write things for me to actually say on the fly about intelligible topics. And so I thought that would be really cool. It's like it could be dumping facts or other things like that, or like things that I just put on here, right? Here are the
Yeah,
elements of a virtual meeting, but I'm doing it improv. It's like I didn't pre-write the speech, but the AI is assisting me perhaps in giving a more compelling talk, like the example you gave. So
absolutely. And John, we're doing some really incredible things that I don't think I'm quite able to share just yet, but I will promise to ping you as soon as they're ready around leveraging uh, generative AI models and how we're working with that to really help our users become better speakers, better communicators across the board. So I think you will love it when I am able to share.
well, I love that you have the closet of stuff you're working on that you can't tell us about yet. Because in the AI world, it's wide open right now. I love technology. When I got into Microsoft, there were so many new things that haven't been done. And so this is now the next new area where people are experimenting, going, what if? And it's always interesting to see in the business model and what if what people actually gravitate. There's this thing going, oh, this seems like a no-brainer, and then nobody uses it. But then there's
Yep.
these other things which are like, I didn't even think about that, and now it's like the most popular thing. That leads
Yeah.
us to the future, right? What do you see for the future of virtual meetings, right? Because if we have these amazing technologies that could assist us as humans in being better somehow in a meeting, what are some of the things that you can see that you can talk about? Not the things that you can't talk about, but what are some other things that you foresee in the future?
Absolutely. I'm a strong believer that virtual meetings and just virtual work and remote work and all of this is an integral part of the future. To me, it feels like that shift, similar to how mobile became a shift. I think the future is a remotely distributed place, and we need to find a way to really embrace and make us feel like we have that presence within other people again. And I think, John, you've done a tremendous job of working on this and uh, continuing to explore how we do that as a group, as a society. But um, I don't think there's a ton of major step changes other than how do we build processes, how do we build the right systems to ensure that when we're on calls, we're engaging with one another, we're able to communicate in a compelling way. I know there's a lot of talk about the metaverse and being able to use virtual reality and all of that. And I'd argue that that is an incredibly compelling part of engaging and having better virtual meetings. Just not quite sure if that's coming up in the next year or so, but I do see that being something in the future where who knows, you put on a headset and you're in the office and that could be pretty cool. And you're right next to your coworkers and you can see them in their outfit for the day. And that sounds really cool. But until then, I think it's about being really focused on the users and intentional about making sure people feel present and welcomed. And I think we can do that with the tools we have today.
Yeah. Yes. We all want to feel connected. We're humans. That's, I think, really one of the key pieces. And that, it's great if technology can help us in a way that doesn't interfere or is cumbersome. And so that's what I'd be looking forward to, is saying, how are some easy ways that we as humans, that user interface that you talked about earlier, that are agreeable to us, because now we have access to all this data. Now, how can we do something with it and make it better? Like a phone clearly shows us that as humans, we can access a lot of data, and it makes our lives better when we have that kind of access to it. Now what is that going to mean for the rest of our lives? So again, I really think the
Absolutely.
AI tools are like that. I really am looking forward to your real-time tools. Again, a real-time tool would then listen to the conversation now and start giving me some indicators, nudges saying, oh, you went back and started using again, John, right? So, things like that, and allow me to shift in real time. I can tell you though, just by having access to this data has already started to change my behavior. And I think that's the key to a successful tool. Does it make my life any better? Is it helping me gain awareness? Am I being better? So I look forward to that. And so again, you can check it out. It's yoodli.ai, yoodli.ai. Check it out. And if you have any comments, put it there in the comments and let me know. I know some of the challenges, like you got to let something in. So that is kind of weird on the security side of like letting another app into your place. I know that when I get into other people's meetings, they're like, who's Yoodli? So I'm sure you're having to deal with some of these other weird social things, but I can tell you that the technology, as we've seen, can be really, really valuable in processing that much information and giving back useful data back to us as humans. Sharon, one last thing. If you wanted somebody to remember only one thing from this interview, what's the one thing?
Give Yoodli a shot. I promise it'll help you become a better communicator. And as you become a better communicator, you become more confident, you feel better. It makes a world of a difference. So please give Yoodli a shot. I'm also very happy if anyone has any questions or is curious, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share my email. It's sharan@yoodli.ai, sharan@yoodli.ai. And would love to hear from anyone and everyone about thoughts, concerns, feedback, whatever it may be.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I'm going to keep an eye on this product this year and really watch your progression. Again, I hope you move as fast as Zoom does and adding new features and other pieces. I just got to hope that I can discover all of them right now. I'm still peeking through like other pieces of data. I'm like, you can do what? So But it is, I can just tell you this right now. It's helping me, and I look forward to coming back to you with a story of somebody else who I've made it, introduce it to that helped them. Sound good?
Truly. Thank you so much, John. This has been such a pleasure. And thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sharon. All right. Happy again New Year to you. I hope that you get a chance to use this new tool. Check it out and let us know what the comments are. Most of all, I'm looking for all these other factors. What can make our virtual meetings better? And one of them is how we can communicate. If we can communicate better, I believe that we can have even better virtual meetings. I can also tell you the other side. If I don't have to listen to a speaker who overuses that makes my life personally better. So with that, check out the tool. Let me know if you like it. I would love to know any feedback or you get any cool use cases because I like myself, I'm trying to figure out what can I do to make this more valuable. We'll see you there and we'll keep bringing you virtual tools in 2023. We'll see you next time.
Always start people and keep going.